everyone, it's time for the letters pages. I'm Captain Logan.
And I'm Eric.
And for the next 15 minutes, we are going to answer some of your questions. Eric, are you ready for question answering?
Yeah, and I actually haven't looked at any of these questions, so they're all fresh to me. Usually when you post the thing, I look through it.
You look through a few?
I haven't been on Facebook lately, so I've been trying to not go on Facebook because it makes me sad and angry and depressed.
Oh, okay. Well, but our viewers are great, and they don't make you so
not
sad.
the Geekvolution Facebook, personal Facebook. I'm...
And depressed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so I am pulling up some questions. Here I go. Eric, the first question comes from Joe DeEggio, who says, would you consider doing a review of Millar's Ultimate Run? That's hilarious. We just did that.
Yeah. Assuming that it's that, not like Ultimate X-Men, Ultimate
something else. Like just all of the Ultimate stuff. Yeah. David Crabtree, are the 90s the last decade to have an aesthetic... Hold on, I gotta turn the clock on. An aesthetic uniqueness, mainly in terms of things like look, hairstyles, clothing, music, etc. It seems like the 2000s have just blended right in with the 2010s and nothing really stands out in those areas.
I agree with that.
So I kind of feel like that in the moment, but then I go back and look at it and I'm like, the Matrix is outdated now.
I feel like we always think that. In the 90s we're like, well, there's no 90s style. It's just the 90s. No, you go back to 2000 to films in the 2000s.
He's right in that it doesn't feel as distinct as those did because they were a little tackier and a little gaudier and
it is the
overall.
It's the final reach of the grunge movement, right? Like that's what the 2000s are. It's like grunge starts in the 90s and like we get to the just
right. But I guess the point he's making is, but then the 2000s into the decade we're in now. Like, how much of a difference is there, really?
I watched movies in 2000, like, that's a 2000 outfit.
Yeah.
So, like, there is a difference.
No, like I said, I have some of that, but I just don't know if it's as unique as the 80s and 90s were.
No, it's not as big as the 80s, but neither the 70s. Like,
yeah,
sometimes we just have more ostentatious decades, or more ostentatious styles.
Sure, but, like, I can immediately describe, like, the main styles and fashion and stuff of each of those decades, and once I get into this decade and the last decade, it gets a little bit tougher, right? Like, you say that about the 70s, maybe it's not the same kind of ostentatious, but it was...
I do know what the 70s looked like.
You know what it looked like.
Yeah. Maybe we're just too close to it.
You know about the bell-bottoms, you know about the browns and beige.
Well, and that the 70s, the style just seemed to be the ugliest color clashes you could possibly think of.
Yeah, exactly. Sure.
Maybe we're a little too close to it. And I'm kind of in the place of, like, I know it when I see it. Like, I know what the 2000s look like, but I can't describe it.
Malik wants to know if we will ever do Hellboy commentaries.
Sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of commentaries for superhero movies we haven't gotten to because we've done a lot of DC and Marvel and not jumped to some of the independents, so... at some point, we should probably do those. It's been a while since I've revisited those, so that would be fun. Brian Old, do you think the new Spider-Man PS4 game can match the success of the Rocksteady Batman games? I think it's going to be huge. I think it better deliver because the hype is real with that.
Well, and it's also supposed to be the start of a cinematic universe of video games, right? Mm-hmm. Like, it better be good.
Yeah. PS4 is the biggest system of the three right now. Even if it's if it's the biggest thing on PS4 or one of the biggest things on PS4, if it's like Game of the Year or something, sure. The Arkham games had the advantage of being on multiple systems.
I hope it's also on the Switch, and we just skip the Xbox One. That's what I hope for.
Yeah, I mean, it won't because it's Sony. Yeah. So, I mean, that's why it's on PS4.
Oh, that makes sense.
Because it's Sony. That's the reason it's an exclusive. Yeah. This is my understanding.
Well,
so,
but we've had a couple of things lately where, like, it's exclusive
maybe it goes
for
there
a while.
Later. Yeah, it could go there later.
Like Cuphead was like that. Cuphead was an Xbox exclusive, and then a couple months later.
No, it still is.
Can you? I thought
it's not on PS4. I don't think so. I think it's on Steam.
Okay, maybe that's.
You can play it on PC. Okay. I don't believe.
I thought it was in the PS4.
On
I could be completely wrong.
I hope if it is, I'll go play it now. Because I really want to play that.
I might be completely wrong.
I'll check into that. I hope you're. I'm going to be very upset if you're wrong with that. No, I'm just kidding.
I don't know.
Robert Emmett, considering you and Eric are Power Rangers fans, have either of you sat down to watch the new Voltron series? Have you looked at any of that? I think maybe you watched.
I watched the whole first season. I loved it.
Yeah. It's like into 4 or 5 now, right?
Yeah, but some of those are like 5-episode seasons.
Oh, okay.
And there's like multiple in a year.
Oh, okay.
I watched the first season. I absolutely adored it.
Well, yeah, that would have to be because it hasn't been on for 5 years. I don't think.
And then I moved here, and just haven't gotten to keep up with it. I do intend to go back to it. I actually started the first episode. I rewatched the first episode too.
Jason really wants to
couple
watch
weeks
it.
ago. It's great. It's really great. I intend to get back to it at some point, but I adored the first season.
Logan Tucker, what is the single best episode or two-parter of DCAU? Any DCAU. Any DCAU single best episode.
Single best episode of any DCAU?
Yeah.
Date Night. Date Night and Just League Unlimited.
You think so?
Yeah. I mean, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
That's just difficult.
Yeah, that's tough.
My favorite is Date Night.
A lot of different shows and things I haven't gone back to in a really long time. Like, I love Superman. I forget what's in that show.
It is great. You should go back to it.
You know, yeah. I really should. I really like the. And it's funny because it's so different and it's not an adaptation at all. But and that's always my answer for Batman animated series. I don't know if that's my favorite of everything. I don't know. And there's some Justice League and Unlimited I still haven't seen.
Yeah.
But
I don't think I've seen all of Justice League. I don't think.
Yeah. But no, I'm just really rusty on that stuff. It's been so long since I've seen any of it. I really like the two-parter in Justice League that kind of does Death of Superman, but kind of doesn't, and has gruff Superman, gruff like not speaking hardly, Superman on another planet. That one's great.
Don't they combine it with For the Man Who Knows Everything?
Yes.
Okay.
And it's great. What else? Daniel Eldridge, have you noticed the pattern of Marvel and Star Wars creators attacking their fans? Articles have been written documenting it. Yeah, we've talked about this.
Also, all of those articles be taken with a grain of salt. A lot of those are not quotes. It's a lot of people saying like they said this, but I can't find citations.
Yeah.
Or like this is the article it comes from.
I mean, I've been hearing, and people keep bringing this up and wanting us to talk about it. We keep hearing stuff about Kathleen Kennedy. How much is that happening with Marvel though? Like people at Marvel attacking
here's the thing. Marvel is doing it.
Oh, okay.
Just on it, but it's not Marvel Studios. I'm talking about comic book writers. Like Mark Waid is certainly doing this. Dan Slott is certainly doing this. It's been going on for years.
Yeah, but when somebody says Marvel and Star Wars, I assume they're talking about.
I haven't heard anything about Marvel Studios.
Yeah, me neither.
I just immediately assume like Marvel Comics. Creators, which they totally are.
Yeah, we talked about this on After Dark a little bit, but on Patreon. But I don't know. I think people just need to be a little bit more professional.
Comic book writers clearly should not be allowed to have Twitter. Just across the board, it's one of those. It's one of those. A couple of people ruin it for everybody. Comic book writers should not be allowed to have Twitter. If I was a comic book company, I would make you not be on Twitter.
Yeah,
or Facebook. You shouldn't be allowed to interact with your fans except at conventions. It seems like you're not... Enough of them are not capable of being civil human beings in a consequence-free environment that I wouldn't let people do that.
Yeah, I just don't get what it accomplishes. You know?
Yeah.
Because you're saying, like, no, my work is good, and my answer to that is always, well, it should stand on its own, and if people don't like it, like they might be for the wrong reasons, and they might just have hang-ups. But what are you going to accomplish by screaming at people to like? It's a product that you made that somebody purchased. It doesn't make any sense to me to be like, because you're basically at that point saying that you are entitled to their money no matter what it is that you made.
Yeah.
That's what it really reads like.
Yeah.
And I just think you have to be careful about that. And that's why I think creators really should kind of stay away from criticism for the most part, and just do your work and do your best. And like interact with people, like you said, at cons, and you can interact with people directly. But I wouldn't be looking at reviews and things like that. But I guess Twitter's tough because people send you things directly, and so you see it.
Yeah.
I guess that's the tough thing there.
Yeah.
Because what you always hear a lot of creators say is like, don't look at the criticism at all. But if you're on Twitter, you're going to get things directly sent at you.
Yeah.
And so I guess that's kind of tough.
Or you're Dan Slott and you clearly have a search engine like looking for your name at all times.
Yeah, that's not healthy. I just don't. Again, I don't think that's good for your for your creative outlet. You know.
Now, that being said, I think it's JMS talks about that he intentionally seeks out negative reviews because they're going to be the honest ones.
Yeah.
And he...
Well, and
sometimes he doesn't agree with them, but like he wants... And sometimes he thinks they're really unfair, but he wants to see what they have to say, because they might have some
Because
points.
some of that will be constructive.
Yes. Yeah.
But if you can handle it, that's a good idea. If you're mature, if you have thick enough skin. But whatever you do, be classy.
Yeah.
You know, be the bigger man, because your career might suffer for it down the road, and you can get a reputation for being a person that's difficult to work with, even if you're not talking about anyone you've actually really worked with.
Mm-hmm. Well, and with someone like Denslot, and Denslot's been a repeat offender of just being really mean to people.
Yeah.
At some point, he's mean to the wrong person, right?
Yeah, sure.
And, like, there are actual consequences for him. Like, he could lose his job. Or,
yeah, like, I'm surprised he's been able to do
person.
that for so long. And
I'm
the kind
shocked
of fan
that
base
they
he
haven't.
has.
Yeah.
Because, you know, at some point, the company, a company you work for, if you're not working for yourself especially, you shouldn't do that. And, I mean, like, again, I always advocate for being classy and being civil and, taking the high road. There's something to be said for being diplomatic. I don't mean don't stand up for yourself, but pick your battles.
Yeah.
Most certainly. Anyway, Arnold Kim, when it comes to the concept of death in comics, how do you balance what best serves the narrative with what fans or the public or the business needs of the right owners want? How do you balance the narrative significance of consequences with the character significance in the larger culture?
I think one of the big things that comic writers should do is, when it comes to killing people, you can't bring them back. If you killed them, and someone else brings them back later, you had no control over that.
That should be the definitive end of what you were doing.
Yeah, unless
you're telling
the whole time.
Big story where the point is to bring them back, and it's not a real death, or it is a real death, but that's the story that you're telling. That's different, maybe.
Yeah.
But if you're even pretending like there's finality, I like that idea. I think you're kind of right about that. Yeah.
I mean, like, and there are no rules, right? Like, there are no hard and fast rules. I'm sure that the death of the Human Torch feels like a big, important, definitive moment, and Hickman always intended to bring him back. But also, if there's clues, if you go back and you're like, oh, well, clearly this person was always going to come back, but like...
Yeah, because he's not actually dead. Like, clearly he wasn't going to be
dead.
The
worst I've ever seen.
But that one, and because some of the advice I would give is not even to... is more editorial than anything. It feels gimmicky to make that a black bag issue.
Yes.
When it turns out that he wasn't actually dead at all.
Yes. The worst I've ever seen is Action Fear itself.
Imagine if we had done that with Donatello and he doesn't actually die issue.
Or in Fear itself, when Bucky dies.
Yeah.
And then in 7.3 or whatever, the Captain America issue, he's not dead. He faked his death.
Yeah.
I don't even know how he faked his death, but he faked his death. No, I think that as a writer, you cannot control what everyone around you and after you does, but you can control what you do. Don't be gimmicky.
But the big thing you can't control is people knowing about it before it happens.
That's true.
With the big two, you're very rarely going to be able to kill off a character unless it's somebody kind of minor, or even, maybe you can kill off somebody sort of major if you made them up in the first place, and they're not wearing a costume. You know what I mean? But if it's anybody people care about, it's, like editorial is going to make sure that the public knows 6 months before it happens.
Yeah, which is unfortunate. Well, I didn't know Hulk was going to die in Civil War 2.
Oh, okay.
Did you? Like, ahead of time?
No, that's true. I guess I didn't.
I mean, I mean, that's indicative of that event and how little anyone cared.
But some of that it was an event. Here's the weird thing, like, events seem to be able to get away with bigger status quo shifts without your knowing about it. It seems like if it happens in a normal book, we have to call it the death of something.
That's true.
I guess I hadn't thought of that. No, events get away with it, and you don't necessarily know before you crack it open.
Yeah, that's true. That's true.
You know?
Unless it's a big one.
And impressively...
Even Iron Man, I didn't know that he was going into techno coma.
This isn't a death, and I know, and we don't like that they did this, but we have been surprised more often lately in comics inside the page than we used to be able to. Like, the Watchmen thing with Rebirth, people didn't know until about a week out. So that's pretty
No
cool.
one knew that Batman was proposing to Catwoman in that issue until it came out.
Yeah.
Maybe we're getting better about this.
Maybe so. No, that's really good. But yeah, so I mean, like the way to balance it in a perfect world is to make it part of your story and don't worry about what people are going to do after it. And if you can get away with it, don't tell everybody about it. Don't use it to
and
sell
sometimes
it.
that is out of your control.
Yeah, and the problem is it becomes a big issue if you don't tell anybody about it, and then it becomes a huge hot issue, and then nobody can get their hands on it. So some of it's commercial in the sense that it's that you want to sell the issue on that because you know it will sell copies. But if you have narrative integrity and you don't do that, you create a thing that nobody can get their hands on. So how much of it is we're being gimmicky and commercial and like money milking, and how much of it is but we created a demand for a thing that nobody could buy.
No, because the people that care are already reading that book, and everyone else can read and trade.
Okay, fair enough.
No, if you really want to read that story, you can read that story. You just have to wait a couple of months.
Yeah.
I don't know.
But if you're a collector and you weren't buying that book and, you like to collect, big event things that happen, like...
Yeah.
I mean, scalpers are obnoxious, but I don't mean that. Like,
yeah, but
if I found out after the fact that somebody died in a thing I wasn't reading and it was somebody that I collected or somebody I liked...
I'd rather snub that person than have that spoiled for everyone that is reading that story.
No, that's fair. Yeah, sure. Let's do a couple more real quick, Eric.
All right.
Michael Perry, are you guys looking forward to Nick Spencer's Spider-Man run? Personally, I am, especially after Superior Foes. I've always liked Boomerang and the gang even before that series, so I'm looking forward to how Spencer handles other aspects of Spidey's world. We were just talking about this the other day.
Yeah, I'm not, because I like Superior Foes and I don't want that tone for Spider-Man. Dan Slott kind of ruined Spider-Man, what I think Spider-Man should be. He's made it a comedy book. Spider-Man's not a comedy book. It's a dramatic book with a jokey protagonist. Not the same thing.
Yeah, that can go to comedic places.
Yeah, but it's not that, and everything I've seen about Nick Spencer's run seems like it's going to be more of the tone of Superior Foes, which was a comedy book. I also immediately rolled my eyes when I read the synopsis for issue 1, and it's an alien invasion. Can we please put Spider-Man back on the ground?
Yeah, I read the Free Comic Book Day issue and I wasn't impressed. And
I'm not
seems like we're
against
a lot of
it,
the
I'm
obvious
just not
jokes.
excited.
And it read better than Spectacular, which I thought was terrible. But it's still not what I want. But I don't know, like maybe doing the Superior Foe stuff, like maybe it starts jokey and it gets a little bit darker. I don't know.
Maybe, but I'd imagine
I don't mean it's
that's
only
a
good if
comedy
it's
book
dark.
that sometimes has serious moments.
Yeah, I mean, I want something that's dramatic with comedic bits, not the other way
Yeah,
around.
yeah. And Spencer isn't necessarily wrong for it. It just seems like that's the tone he's going for. Spencer's written other things that are quite
So,
good.
on the Vault, I earlier answered the beginning of this question, but I'm going to read it anyway because of the second part of it, Eric.
Mm-hmm.
Michael Spack, if you're reading Bendis' Man of Steel series, what are your current feelings on his take on John and seemingly once again ignoring continuity from not even a year ago? Do you think he has a larger plan or just ignoring things for the sake of the story he wants to write? So I am not very far in yet and not ready to start talking about that, but if he seems to be ignoring stuff right now that happened before it, I would not hold my breath about it making sense. Because that has been Bendis' MO lately with things that he doesn't want to have to deal with.
No, he's just going to ignore things so that for the story he wants to tell.
Yeah. But, Bendis is very decompressed, and it's easy when you start reading a Bendis book, when things don't seem to line up, to think, well, maybe eventually this will make sense, and I just need to, be patient and give it time. That was not happening with the how did we get from Ultimate stuff to them, in 616.
Bendis does
that
not care
never
about
made
continuity.
sense. He just doesn't seem to care.
And this is not a new thing. Bendis does
Yeah.
not care about continuity. He is 100% my story trumps anything. And everything. Sometimes with books going on at the same time.
And I mean, a lot of his stories are great. So it's impressive that we don't mind that when it works.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I'm still very excited about.
No,
Superman.
that's just the thing I know going into Bendis books is this
Yeah.
is not gonna and I didn't really, I guess, expect, especially with what a weird place Superman's been in from what you've told me.
Yeah, and I was so unhappy with how Jurgens got us to status quo lately. That I honestly don't even know how much I mind that.
I'm interested to know what he's doing with John, though.
Yeah, me too. Okay, so we got a ton of questions on YouTube that we're just not gonna have time for because, yeah, but we'll do. I don't know. We're already 4 minutes over, Eric, but there's just so many questions here. I hate not getting to anything on YouTube.
Let's do 5 more. 5 more minutes.
Wow, that's a lot. Okay. 559. Oh, I thought you meant 5 more questions.
No,
5590 ERS. My question is for both Cap and Eric. What is your favorite Power Ranger season? That is not Mighty Morphin. Mine is Lost Galaxy.
Mine is also Lost Galaxy. Going back to it, Lost Galaxy doesn't hold up as well as I want it to, but it is my favorite.
Mine is Dino Thunder, although I imagine that SPD could trump that if I watch all of it, because every time I look at that show, I really like it. And Zeo is still up there for nostalgia.
I think RPM is the best season of all the seasons I've watched, but Lost Galaxy is my favorite.
Little I've seen of that.
Yeah.
That seems like a really smart Power Ranger show for Power Rangers.
Yeah, for Power Rangers. Caveats on everything about Power Rangers.
Yep. But that show seems to have, like, real acting.
Yeah, well, I mean, at least 2 of them went on to big things.
Yep.
It's iZombie and Malcolm.
Yep. And comic book things. Both of them.
Yep.
Connor Shelton, have either of you read the original 80-issue Marvel G1 Transformers comic series? Have you ever read that?
I have read parts of it. I've never read all of it. There are like big collections of all of it. I have read some of Simon Furman's stuff. I've never read the Budiansky stuff, and I've read what's been released of the UK stuff. But no, I also read the Headmasters mini. I've read parts of it. I haven't read all of it. But I want to because IDW did this really cool thing.
Yeah.
So that book ends at 80, but Simon Furman planned it out to 100, and they did a 20-issue maxi series called Transformers Regeneration 1, where he got to tell the story that he would have told that would have climaxed with 100.
Oh, cool.
So that's really cool, and I'd like to read all of that.
After doing the rewind I just did for the movie, I've been kind of itching to read some Transformers comics. I kind of want to do it.
Well, we talked about doing records at some point.
Yeah. We talked about maybe doing a theme show.
Yeah.
So we may get to that in the not-too-distant future.
Yeah.
Madman, will you accept the following challenge? Say something genuinely nice about Batman and Robin, Catwoman, Turbo, a Power Rangers movie, and Star Trek Nemesis. Or not, that's fine too.
That's easy.
Is that pretty easy?
Yeah. Batman and Robin is legitimately funny, and a good kids movie.
It's got the places where it is funny. You know what I mean?
I think all the ice puns are funny.
Do you really?
But I don't know if I'm laughing with it or at it, but like, yeah.
I guess my nice thing about Batman and Robin is I think Uma Thurman was legitimately good casting, regardless of what they did with her.
Sure.
I've always thought that.
Sure.
And John Glover's hilarious.
Yeah. What's the second one?
Catwoman? That's harder.
I saw that once on television.
So you don't remember anything
way
about
back.
Boy.
Is Eartha Kitt the woman that tells her about her powers?
No, she's not in it. She
Okay.
should have been. That would have been great.
Okay.
No, she's not. She's not in it. That would have been some fun stunt casting.
It's really good. It doesn't connect itself to other Batman properties.
So that it's not stuck with that continuity. That's like a backhanded compliment. That doesn't count. That's not great.
I'm not familiar enough with the film to.
No, that's fair. I don't think Halle Berry is terrible in the role. Like, I don't like what she's given.
She licks herself like a cat.
Yeah, well, the script tells her to do that. I'm just saying there are scenes where she's okay.
Sure.
But yeah, no, that one is tougher. That one's certainly tougher.
Turbo's easy for me because I think Divatox is hot. So,
okay, fair enough.
There's my comment. I think Divatox is hot.
The Zed snoring thing is funny. And Nemesis, you've not seen.
Nope.
But we're going to do that at some point.
Well, you talked about starting going through the TNG films with You Made Me Watch.
Yeah, I like Tom Hardy's performance, legitimately. I mean, like, there's some production design stuff I like in that movie. Like, there's nice things to say about Nemesis. It's just a really bad script.
Which is weird. It's John Logan.
Yeah, but it's John Logan with Spiner monkeying with things weird. Like Spiner is somewhat to blame for what happened with that movie.
Well, and also, that's John Logan. Like, that's a young John Logan.
Yeah.
Like, the fact that guy also wrote Skyfall, but, like, there's,
there's a lot of years in between. Yeah. I don't know, just conceptually, he's not writing a send-off film, which is what that should have been.
Mm.
There was still some question as to whether or not they would have another one, so it's easy to say that in retrospect, but it was advertised as the last TNG movie. Let's see. DSLA Gel. When you listen to music, is it more about the music itself or the lyrical content and what it's trying to say? It's both for me, although it kind of depends on what kind of thing it is, because I listen to a lot of instrumental music, so also, so obviously that's not a lyrical thing. But I think of music very much as a piece.
For me, it's entirely lyrical. I can get into music that I don't normally like if I like the lyrics and things like that. So.
Yeah, and I have a tough time with that if I don't have a good hook. And in fact, I guess I do kind of begin with music. I do kind of begin with a hook. So I won't even notice great lyrics until I'm into a song.
That's fair. Let's do one more.
Okay, let's do one more, Eric.
Make it go on.
I will do my level best, man.
Can your eyes even see anymore?
Yeah, barely. Little bit. So I'm trying to find a really good one, Eric.
All right.
I'll read this really fast because it's funny. Christian Oglin, random thought, but don't forget to upgrade when you play Arkham. I forget to upgrade all the time. I'm doing these live streams. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's right. I'm not gonna be able to drop down and grab the guys that are underneath me when I'm on the gargoyles if I don't level up. It took me way too long before I could do that. That was a problem. Scott McCall, personally, I don't read current comics and haven't since Bendis finished his run on Ultimate Spider-Man Miles Morales. I find myself reading a lot of older stuff. What is the question here? Sorry, this is just a really long question.
Context.
I think he's just talking about comics. I think this is not actually a question.
Any question marks?
No, Okay, so we gotta find an actual question. Sorry about that. Webmaster 47. The only way I'd ever watch Suicide Squad is if you guys did a commentary on it. Sorry, I'm trying to find something that's good for the both of us, Eric. And that's one from a person that we already got. Cinematographic. I've been watching Atop the Fourth Wall since 2012. Repeatedly, Linkara praises Gail Simone. Given that you like to read comics, I'm curious, does Gail Simone's work live up to the hype? I mean, I've liked a lot of stuff I've read from her.
I love Gail Simone. Secret Six is one of my favorite comics, just period.
Yeah. I've read some of her Batgirl. Her 52 Batgirl was really good, what I read of it.
I read a very little bit of her original run on Birds of Prey. I'd like to go back and get it.
Yeah,
they are reprinting Birds of Prey, starting
Birds
with
of Prey is
and
a
stuff.
thing I'd like to start collecting. I love Birds. That should be a thing that I buy.
Yeah. No, I adore Gail Simone. I read the first issue for Domino. I like that quite a bit.
Yeah, that was really good.
I really would like to read her Red Sonja. She's a lot of stuff I'd like to read. She has a creator-owned series called Clean Room that sounds like it's kind of a Scientology thing. I'm kind of interested in that. I adore Gail Simone.
Didn't she recently do some Tomb Raider?
Yes, she does. So she did a comic series that takes place between the first game and the second game. So between Tomb Raider and Rise of Tomb Raider. But also, I've heard not great things about that, so I don't know.
Oh, okay.
She writes a little bit, and I've heard people don't love it, and then Rhiannon Pratchett comes in, who's the writer of the games and writes the comics, but I don't know.
Oh, okay.
There is a nice library edition, which if I ever finish that game, I will buy and read the in-between stuff before I go play Rise. So.
Also, I met her, and she's super nice, and she's not the kind of person... Yeah, and she's not the kind of person that we were talking about earlier when we were talking about comics creators that aren't professional and stuff.
Oh, she's delightful. Follow her on Twitter.
She's great on Twitter, yeah. And, send her messages, and she'll be nice to you.
Yeah, she's super cool.
She's wonderful.
She's a cool person. She's a cool writer. And she seems like a genuinely, cheerful, optimistic person who can write some really dark, twisted things.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah, no, I'm a big fan. Gail Simone.
That's going to do it for us on the Omnibus This Week and Letters Pages. Thanks a bunch for watching, everybody. We sure appreciate it. Eric, thanks for doing it.
Yeah.
Hope you had a good time. I certainly did.
What time are we at?
It's late, okay? It's not important.
Wow, this is the latest it's ever been.
It's not important.
This is the latest it's ever been.
It doesn't matter. Well, that's because somebody decided to talk about their scriptment for 30 full minutes.
That's true. That's true.
But there are other things that we talked about for a long time as well, including Jurassic World, which should not have gone longer than
For
15
like
minutes.
40 minutes we
Yes.
talked about Jurassic World.
It's pretty long. Anyway, thanks again for watching, folks. We sure appreciate it. We will see you again with lots more stuff in the coming weeks for Geekvolution. Obviously, it's going to be another 3 weeks before the next omnibus, but if you don't watch all this together, you'll have lots of videos from tonight, because we've been doing this for a long time, over the next 3 weeks.
And long videos.
More Arkham playthrough coming soon, and I'm going to have the rewind for Daredevil Season 1 in the not-too-distant future.
Good luck on that.
What major things are we going to have on the next show?
Ant-Man and the Wasp.
Ant-Man and the Wasp, yeah. A couple Marvel things.
I think those
are kind of the biggest
big
things.
ones.
And then probably Superman Secret Origin for the Vault. So yeah, look forward to it. We'll see you next time. I'm Captain Logan.
I'm Eric.